Hello, everyone. We will be starting in a few minutes, and I just would like to check whether you can all hear me. And I will check the video option. I mean, I will try to start the video too, to make sure you can all see me too. So, can you all hear me well? Oh, great. Wow, great, great, great. Everyone can hear me. That's wonderful. That's wonderful. And now let me try to start the video as well. And now I'm talking to my colleagues. Well, it says on my screen, guys, you can't start the video because the host has stopped it. That's what appears on my screen. So, my dear colleagues, can you please help me? Well, you cannot see the videos here yet because I will be starting in a bit. If you can hear me at the moment, still good. And we will start the presentation in a few minutes, and you will all be able to hear me and see me as well. Well, ladies and gentlemen, I hope you can all hear me well. Can you? Great. So, well, everyone from Ukraine, from Turkey, all those, well, yeah, all those wonderful participants of tonight. Well, thank you for answering. Thank you for your contribution already. And I can see all your names and where you are from, and it's really exciting to be here. Now, there is one thing, and normally we are very, very punctual. And the reason why we are 5 minutes late today is that we are using a very new program. And that's why I wanted to check everything before we start. And the apparently, I've also just found out that you won't be able to see me and see the presentation at the same time on this webinar. Well, in our old program, you used to, well, participants used to be able to do that, but not anymore apparently. So I think we can start. And can you all see the presentation on the screen, by the way? Can everyone see that clearly? It says IELTS Online Seminar, August 9th, 2017. Wonderful. Okay. Great, great, great. Visual and audio. Lovely. And hope, well, maybe sometime during the presentation, you might see my face too. We'll see. Right. First of all, I want to apologize for the 5 minutes delay. Normally we are very punctual, but as I said, we are using a very new program. That's why we just wanted to make sure everything works just fine. And now I want to welcome you to the webinar properly. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the British Council's Success in IELTS webinar. I'm very excited to be here today, and my name is Seville. I will be your IELTS trainer today, and in today's session we are going to cover very useful information and top tips about the IELTS exam. Oh, wonderful. And now let me see, one of the participants has just given me a tip. I use this program at the university. You should be able to have the option for dual screen view. Wow. Thank you very much. I will look at that. Actually, I would like my colleagues to guide me for that. Okay. Anyway, I think we can move on to the next slide. Let's see. Thank you very much. All right. Now, IELTS is, of course, the International English Language Testing System, and it is jointly owned by the British Council and 2 other institutions. Next slide, please. Normally, I should be able to control the presentation, but there was something wrong with my computer, and that's one of the reasons why we ran 5 minutes late. That's why I would like my colleague to control the presentation for tonight only. I can't see and listen to you. Well, Victoria, if you can't hear me very well, it might be because of your internet connection. I'm testing my connection right now and it's pretty good. So I'm afraid there is something wrong with your connection because everyone else said that they could hear me very well. All right. And so that's all about it. That's a very brief slide there. By the way, before we start, I would like to say one more thing. I mean, before we move on to the next slide, I mean. Oh, I can hear perfect. Oh, great. Great, Victoria. Perfect. I was going to say that I have a set presentation that I want to follow. However, if you have any questions, you can ask your questions as I go along, or if you would like to leave the questions until the end of this presentation, that's also fine because I will be waiting here for a little more. So, and I won't go before I answer everyone's questions. All right. Now I'm waiting for the slide to change. And when the slide changes, oh, thank you very much. Great. So what is IELTS? I'm going to give you brief information about the IELTS test here, guys. Well, IELTS is an internationally recognized and respected test, and it tests your ability to communicate in English language. It's either for work or for study reasons. And it is designed to assess your 4 abilities, which are obviously listening, reading, writing, and speaking. IELTS results range from band scores of 9 to 0, as you might already know. And please do not forget, IELTS is an international testing system and all accents are welcome and there are no cultural or linguistic bias there. Right. And I'm just looking at the slide again. I think that's all about it. We can move on. Thank you very much. And now, for another 2 or 3 slides, I will be talking about the exam and how it is run, and then we will be talking about the 4 tests individually. So, I mean, some of you might already be familiar with these things, but just wait patiently, guys. We will start to talk about the 4 tests individually, and I'm sure it will get more excited after that. All right. Now, more than 2 million candidates take the IELTS exam every year. And currently, I'm proud to say it is the most popular English test. It is recognized by over 9,000, well, over 10,000. I need to update myself. 10,000 organizations globally. And the accessibility of the test is one of the advantages for our candidates since it's available up to 4 times a month and in 7 different locations here in Turkey. And again, as many of you might already know, there are 2 different modules in IELTS, the academic module and the general training module. And we will be talking about these 2 modules more in detail later, further in the presentation. We can move on to the next slide if everyone's okay. Now, which test is for you? Are you going to take the academic version or the general training version? Now, let's talk about this. Well, before deciding which module you will take, it is a good idea to check with the receiving organization. Definitely check this with the receiving organization first. However, I can say with confidence, in order to further your studies at postgraduate or undergraduate level, you will need to take the academic module, and to further your studies at secondary level or to live in an English speaking country, you need to take the general training module. Now, since it's the very first time I'm using this program, I want to ask my colleagues whether or how the poll question will come. Are we going to? Oh no. Yeah. Can we ask a poll question here? Oh, great. That's how it comes. Thank you very much, Nicola. So our very first poll question. Now, my team and I, we came up with some poll questions to get to know you better and to see maybe, and these questions will help me shape up tonight's show, tonight's webinar. And so are you planning to take the IELTS Academic or IELTS General Training, guys? I would like to see your votes. And. Will I be able to see the results, by the way? Oh, thank you very much for the answer, guys. And 57% of you guys will be taking the academic module. All right, okay, cool. Thank you very much for your votes. So I think on tonight's show, I need to spend equal amount of time on both modules. Great, good to know. Okay, we can move on, I think. So here is a slide, and on this one, I would like to show you the modules a little more in detail. As you see, the listening test is the same regardless of whether you're taking the academic or the general training module. The speaking test is also in the same format, guys. However, that doesn't mean that every single question will be the same. The reading and writing tests on each module are slightly different. I will talk about the differences in detail later in the presentation. Let's not forget to mention the timing of the test. IELTS takes 2 hours and 44 minutes plus 10 minutes transfer time, and this transfer time will be given to you at the end of the listening test. Just to remind you that. All right. And on the next slide, I will be talking about the 9-band scale briefly because, well, as we have already covered, IELTS results range from band scores of 9 to 0, and the IELTS 9-band system is used to measure and report scores in a consistent manner Examiners are trained in line with globally accepted standards to ensure consistency and equality of their assessments. I won't be focusing too much on the band scores today, but if you would like to get further information, you can find band descriptors, the public versions of band descriptors on takeielts.britishcouncil.org. So please, if you would like to get more information and see what Band 9 stands for, what Band 8 stands for, and what we expect from you to be able to reach this score, please visit takeielts.britishcouncil.org and try to find the public versions of the Band descriptors. So I've repeated that twice for you. And there was another poll question. Oh, sorry, there was a question from Silim. Hello, Silim. Well, Selim, no. The answer is, well, very clear and no. To further your studies at undergraduate, at either undergraduate or postgraduate levels, the academic version is required. All right. And I was saying there might be another pool question coming. If not, still no problem. And there you are. What is your target score in IELTS? Let's see tonight's participants' target scores. And I'm taking a sip of water while you're doing that. Oh, of course, I can always read the question, Yishim. So what is your target score in IELTS? 4 to 5.5, 6 to 7.5, 8 to 9. And if you can't see the poll question, you can always write your target score in the chat box. And I can see the scores. So guys, 49% of you trying to reach 6 to 7.5. So we have a lot of high achievers, and 34% of you trying to achieve 8 to 9. Cool. So a lot of high achievers on tonight's show, and you need to listen to me very carefully in order to understand what is expected of you. Oh, not everyone can see the chat. Okay. All right. Thank you very much for letting me know. No worries. And my colleagues warn me about, okay, I will be reading the questions. Great. Now, let's move on to the next slide. A very brief one is coming, guys. So after you take your IELTS exam and after you reach your expected score, your target score, you will be sent one personal copy of the test report form. Maximum 5 digital copies of the test report form may be sent to the organizations you are planning to apply. And if you would like to get more than 5, it's still possible. There might be some extra charges though. As I said, a very brief presentation, a very brief slide there. Now, all right, the most exciting part of the show is about to start. However, I would like to say a few words here. If you would like to get a good score in IELTS, and as according to your poll results, most of you are trying to achieve 6 and above. So in order to get a good score in IELTS, you really need to understand the format of the 4 tests, what is expected of you, and the grading criteria. In other words, how you will be assessed, how your exam will be evaluated. Your job will be much easier if you know these. And before we move to the next slide and talk about the 4 tests individually, you have one more poll question. And the poll question is, I will be reading it. What test in IELTS do you find most difficult? Is it listening, reading, writing, or speaking? And who is the winner? Writing is the winner. I'm not surprised. And secondly, listening. Normally, reading is the second runner up, but okay. Thanks for letting me know, everyone. And now the 4 tests start here. Let me do that. All right. I would like to start with the speaking test. Here is the overview, the facts about the quick facts about the speaking test. The speaking test takes 11 to 14 minutes. The face-to-face nature of the IELTS speaking test is definitely an advantage for our candidates because I personally believe it is as close to a real-life situation as a test can possibly get. Your speaking will be recorded throughout the test. Don't forget. And this is not only to assess your speaking skills, but to make sure you get the fairest assessment of your speaking abilities. You will be assessed on fluency and accuracy, vocabulary, grammar, and pronunciation. And these 4 marks will be averaged, and this will give you your final speaking score. Right. And on the next slide, we'll be talking about the test format a little more in detail. Now, the IELTS speaking test is divided into 3 sections. Part 1, introduction and general questions, I can say. Part 2, long term, or we may call it the cue card. And part 3 is the analytical discussion part. In part 1, questions are quite general, and I can say this with total confidence. You should be able to find something to say, even though you're not interested in the topic at all. Please be like the best tip I can give is please be prepared to talk about your family, your house, hobbies, say holidays, your favorite holiday spot, for instance, and please give extended answers rather than one word or short answers. In part 2, you will be given a task card, and I'm afraid you cannot change. This task card. And you will be given 1 minute to think, to prepare, to take notes, and you will be expected to speak about this topic for 1 to 2 minutes. You can use your notes as you are speaking. You are free to do so. And in part 3, you will be discussing more abstract aspects of the topic from part 2 with the examiner. And the next slide, please. Here on this slide, you can see a sample part 1 question. Please have a look. As you might, I'll give you a moment to look at the question first. All right, so as you might agree, this question does not require any strategies, preparation, or prior knowledge. You just need to answer a very basic, very general, very broad question here. And on the next slide, you will see a sample part 2 and part 3 question, which will be coming very shortly. Again, I would like to give you a moment to read the question. I might not have mentioned, but your part 2 and part 3 questions will be linked. Okay. However, as I said, in part 3, you will be discussing more abstract aspects of the question. It will be more in detail. You might need to form opinions and express them freely with the examiner. All right, I think that's enough. Now, let's look at the do's and don'ts. I prepared 2 slides. The first one is on do's, what you should do, and the second one, the next one, will be about don'ts, things that I don't advise you to do. Right. As you have a quick look at the items on the list, I would like to read something for you. Now, this, guys, is the speaking band descriptor, band 7 for fluency and coherence. So in order to reach band 7 in fluency and coherence. Now, the band descriptor says, the candidate speaks at length without noticeable effort or loss of coherence, may demonstrate language-related hesitation at times, or some repetition, and or self-correction. Now, what does that mean? It means it is okay to make mistakes, and it is okay to correct yourself. Just like in our everyday life, people make mistakes while speaking in their native language too, and this is acceptable. All you need to do is to relax and focus on your communication. What do you do if you make a small mistake in your native language? You either correct yourself and move on, or you forget about it and move on. Do the same thing. Focus on your communication, not your mistakes. Speak clearly and elaborate your answers. In other words, give extended answers. These are the most important things. And in the next slide, I will be talking about the don'ts. Now, I'm an English teacher, and well, apart from being an IELTS trainer, and speaking from experience, please do not try to memorize large portions of speech to repeat during the test. This undoubtedly adds unnecessary stress and sounds, I'm afraid, very unnatural. We do not recommend this approach at all. And do not try to speak. Okay, there is a question. I've just and the answer to your question, Millers, is yes, you're right. And I was saying, yeah, do not try to speak faster in order to sound more fluent. It doesn't work. It will result in blocking your communication with your examiner, and it won't sound natural either. And don't forget, English is the only language you need to communicate in throughout the IELTS test. Do not use your first language, well, unless it is English. And I don't mind repeating this again, but do not worry about your mistakes. Just focus on your communication. All right, so Annie and Julia, my colleagues will be answering you. Well, Hunka, hello, welcome. You haven't missed much. We made an introduction and we are just about to finish the speaking part of the test. And then, we have listening, reading, and writing more. So just join in and do your best. All right, make the most of it. And then, have I mentioned all? Oh, I was saying before Hunka just arrived. It's not the, how can I say this? Okay, I think the best way to say this is, it isn't the number of grammatical mistakes that matters, but how seriously these mistakes block your communication. Focus on your communication, as I have already said. Focus on expressing yourself as well as you can. That's what matters the most. All right, I think we can move on to the next slide. It must be the frequently asked questions, if I'm not wrong. Right, okay, so Since it's the first time I'm using this program, my colleagues are kindly helping me, and they say to open the chat window, everyone, the button is located at the bottom of your screen. So there's a little chat window there. It says participants, and right next to it, it says Q&A, and then it should be share your screen and then chat. Well, that's what I see on my screen. So if you open that, you will be able to see the questions. Does that work for everyone? All right, we'll be taking care of that. All right, I don't want to waste my time. Let's get on with this, and then we can definitely solve problem. I'm sure we will solve the problems as we go on. Let's see. Some participants send me private messages. I don't think so. No, most of the questions are addressed to all panelists and attendees. Well, as I said, we'll fix that. Oh, there you are. So please check these British Council's chats. They will be giving some good information there. Right. So these are the frequently asked questions, and I give this kind of IELTS trainings at many universities, many colleges all around Turkey and in many other countries. So these questions are frequently asked, and I thought it might be a good idea to include these in the presentation. And the first one is, how can candidates improve their speaking? Well, guys, as I said, I'm an English teacher. I understand your concerns very well. Now, I would say to the first question on the list, how can candidates improve their speaking? My answer would be, well, listening to a wide range of authentic English materials will help you a lot. First, it will help you become familiar with more words, phrases, as well as pronunciation features, and these are vitally important while improving language, well, any language really, not only English. And listening to, say, BBC radio, lectures, podcasts is definitely a good idea. Start working on subjects that interest you first, then move on with others. And record, oh, this is something important. And most of my students found it very useful, so I want to share with you. Recording yourself while speaking and listening to it later is something I suggest to my students, as I said. And while speaking, please try to apply and practice what you learned from the listenings. And while you're listening to yourself, pay attention to your fluency, pauses, hesitation, choice of words. And in contrast to the traditional disclaimers, this is something you should definitely try at home. And the second one is, does the candidate's accent affect the score? That's a big no. And as by the way, I was also trying to read the questions that you were asking. That's why I was a bit distracted. So I said the answer is no to the second one. Well, the webinar normally lasts an hour and a half. However, depending on your questions, it might be a bit longer. We'll see, but I would say at least an hour more, guys. And we will be adding videos as well. I agree with you. I think we should be showing more videos. Well, Dorina, we will come to the writing, and please keep this. Remind me your question later, okay? Now, you might have come a bit later. So how we will go on is, First, I gave all of you guys some information about the exam, how it is run, some facts and figures, and then we started talking about the 4 tests individually. And now I'm doing the speaking part, and then we will continue with listening, reading, and writing at the end. So you're very welcome. Well, Ada, my colleagues will answer your question. So that's why if you, for example, if you have questions about the speaking part, please fire them straight away. I will be answering them. Or if you have questions about the other parts of the test, save it for later. And then, because I will be here until I answer everyone's questions. All right. And I will be very happy to do so. So, and the third one, guys, is can candidates ask clarification questions during the IELTS speaking test? And yes, you can ask clarification questions in part 1, 2, and 3. And yes, it is 1-to-1, Moisi. It will be 1-to-1. You will be in a room with the examiner, with the IELTS examiner, and there will be no one else. All right, I remember that question, and I know I forgot to answer that. I'm sorry. Well, now, joking, being ironic, being cynical, of course, I understand that you want to be very natural, but I'm sure most of you will agree with me. There is a certain risk to that. You know, you're in an exam, you might be stressed, and why would you take risks? I suggest you answer the questions as naturally, as formally as possible. And, see how it goes and then decide for yourself. No, the test will be in person, 1-to-1, face-to-face, Albie. Oh, clarification questions, Julia, of course. Let me explain it a bit further. Imagine the examiner asks you the question and you're not quite sure. Maybe it's because of a word or a phrase, and you can ask the examiner to rephrase, to ask you the question in a different way. And the examiner is allowed to paraphrase the question once only. Well, yes. Well, idiom, I think it is a very good idea to use collocations. Not only idioms, but I would say collocations. Does everyone know what collocation means, by the way? I'm sure you all do, but I just wanted to double check. Great. Like collocations are a group of words that we naturally use while we're speaking our language. So, not only idioms, but the more collocations used, the higher your score will be, obviously. And wait, I don't want to. Does the candidate accent? Well, I have answered that question, but I don't mind repeating this again. Your accent does not affect the score. However, the clarity of your pronunciation will affect the score. Sometimes we have this joke, but we among ourselves, among teachers, we say you shouldn't cause any stress, any strain on the examiner's ears. We should be able to understand you easily. Accent is something else. Everyone has a different accent. An American person has a different accent. An Australian person has a different accent. I do have a different accent. That's different. But clarification is important. The clarity, I meant to say, clarity is very important. No, you will not, Julia. I would like to answer the second part of your question as well. You will not lose any marks for asking to paraphrase the question. No, you're very welcome. Well, Özge, that's a very good question. I partially answered that, but again, I don't mind repeating it again. People can make grammatical mistakes, even when they're speaking their native language. And what would you do? So I'm assuming you're Turkish. Well, imagine you're speaking Turkish and you made a slight mistake. You made a mistake. What would you do? You would correct yourself and move on naturally, right? Or you will just forget about the mistake and say, sorry, I meant to say, and then you say, this time you try to express yourself more accurately, more precisely. That's what you do in the IELTS exam too. If you make a mistake, continue or correct yourself and continue. As long as you do not make the same mistake systematically over and over again, you will be fine. And if I'm asked, you're very welcome, Özge. Well, now, do you remember what I said? Extend your answers. Do not give short answers or yes, no, like one word answers. Yes, no, I don't know, or 3-word answers. Well, here, normally, when I'm talking to my students at the university, or when I'm talking to IELTS candidates in IELTS training, IELTS seminars or webinars, I try to say this. Imagine there is an examiner and this person has no information about you. This person does not know who you are, does not know where you come from, does not know your background. Show this person that you can speak, you have a good command of English. How can this person understand that you can speak good English? With your choice of words, with the way you speak, with the way you express yourself. So give us enough data so we can evaluate your English as well as we can. Absolutely, Edda. Absolutely. I can't agree more. I mean, yeah, well, there you are. From the admin, you need to give some details about your work. Yeah, why not? Absolutely, Irina. Yeah, I totally agree with all you guys. Now, as you can see on the screen, the listening part is about to start. Are we ready? Selim, you don't see any questions. You need to open your chat box if you can't. Or if not, I'm answering most of them. So just try to follow me, darling. I hope it will be fixed later. Right. Let's review the basics of the listening test here. The listening test is designed to assess your ability to understand spoken English, of course. And the test, now facts. The test always includes 40 questions, always spread over 4 sections. And the recordings will always take 30 minutes, and you will always be given 10 minutes to transfer your answers from the question booklet to the answer sheet. And you will hear each recording once only, I'm afraid. That might be the bad news. Some good news is on the way, by the way, don't worry. And now the next slide will be, right, now the good news, don't worry, it's coming. The answers appear in order. It means you don't need to go back and forth to find the correct answers to your questions. Now, and the questions do get harder as you progress through the test. I might tell you this as well. And variety of task types are used. I strongly recommend you familiarize yourself with different task types, question types before you actually take the test. You are given, again, some good news. You are given time to read the questions ahead of the recordings. Very fair. And it is vital to use this time efficiently to your benefit. You can analyze and predict what you will be searching for. And another piece of good news, you are also given time to check your answers after each group of questions. You should use this time efficiently too. And after the fourth recording finishes, you will be given 10 minutes to transfer your answers from your question booklets to your answer sheets. And well, the next slide, I think, wait, have I missed any questions? Let me check. All right, my colleagues will answer that question. I might come to that later as well, by the way, Tigran. Right here. First of all, I would like to tell you that you are free to underline, circle words, phrases, and take notes if you wish with your pencil. You're using a pencil only. So you're allowed to underline keywords in the questions if you would like to. And make sure you understand. Remember, I told you you will be given some time ahead of the recording. I mean, before the recording starts, you will be given time to read the questions. Now, use this time very wisely, because you need to understand what type of answers are needed. When you're given time to read the questions ahead of the recordings, you should try to predict as much as you can. Well, is it a number, a day, a name, an adjective you are going to catch? Try to predict as much as you can. And also, it's not on the presentation, but be aware of distractors. Just because you hear something for the first time, it doesn't mean that it is the correct answer. When you're listening, the speaker might reverse, go back and change the answer, reverse the answer. So beware of distractors. And I think it's important to remind that there are no penalties for wrong answers. I'm quite familiar with the all right, Julia, wonderful question. Hold that for a moment. I will come back to that. And Vlada, I will come back to that too. Hold those beautiful questions for a little more. I was saying, let me remember. Right. I said, I think it is important to remind you that I said there are no penalties for wrong answers. I'm very familiar with different educational systems all around the world. In most of the tests, you have some penalties for wrong answers, but in IELTS, no. So technically, a blank answer and an incorrect answer are the same. And I suggest you attempt all the questions. Have a wild guess and you might be lucky. Now answering these beautiful questions. Okay, let me start. Should we should have a notebook with us? Absolutely not. You're not taking a notebook with you. Could you explain us about capitalization? For example, title of a book. Well, I cannot give you a whole lesson about spelling and capitalization. But first, I add 1, 2, 3, 4. The fourth item on the list on the slide is very important. Spelling and capitalization count. It means if you misspell a word, you will lose the question, I'm afraid. Very bad news. If you spell, say, London with a smaller L, your answer will be incorrect. You need to capitalize the word, the words necessary. Lesia, there are 40 questions in the listening test. And so city names, country names, person name, like names of people, you need to use capital letters. And Julia, very wise. Can I write all answers in capitalized letters? Yes, you can. This might be a surprise to most of you, but if you would like to write the whole answers in capitals, you can. Right. Right, Tamar. Yes, Julia, definitely. I answered Lesia. I answered Julia. Now, let's see. All right. Now, Vlada, the time given to you ahead of the recordings will change depending on the number of questions you're expected to read. So I cannot give you a standard time there. But the recording will guide you through. The recording will say, for instance, now you have some time to read questions 1 to 5, 6 to 10, and you will be focusing on these questions only, not losing time. And how to understand paraphrased questions and answers. Well, Dragana, I will come to that later. Now, I think Tamar asked a question and I need to... Well, I wouldn't say it's a loophole. And loophole is spelled as one word, by the way. Oh, I'm an English teacher, guys. I can't help it. Uh, well, as long as the answer is correct and as long as they're all spelled in capital letters, I think that's quite correct. And I wouldn't use it. I wouldn't call it a loophole, to be honest. Now. Let me go back. Let me go further up. Yes. Now, Tamar, that's a very important question. What you write on your question booklet does not count. We will look at the answer sheet while we're grading you. So you can write, spelling, capitalization on the question booklet. It's up to you. But we will look at the answer sheet while we're grading your questions. So what you write on the answer sheet matters. Is that clear? And as to the number of questions, first year law, what year student is Jane? Well, I cannot give you a correct answer because I need to see the question. Does it say not more than one word? Does it say not more than two words and or a number? I need to see the question itself. So that the rest of the question, Tamar, well, it's open to dispute right now. I mean, I cannot give you a correct answer. I need to work on a specific question to be able to answer that fully. Ooh, new questions, are there? Yes. Let me see. Ooh, yes, clear. Oh, great. Everyone's happy with my answers. Perfect. This is what makes a teacher happy. Now, Anna, I need to read that. Anna, spelling counts everywhere in the listening test. Nope. No, we expect you. Well, actually, Anna, I understand you so well. I'm an English teacher and I'm with students, all day and from all walks of life. And well, I see where you're coming from, but remember, this is an Well, no, a teacher is happy when she is with students, either online or in the classroom or in a cafe. It doesn't matter. To Anna, right? Okay, this is an academic test. It's not only what you know, but we need to check whether you're able to you have a good command of academic English. So that's why we expect you to be able to spell words correctly. Sorry, Anna. Now let's see. Well, Zareen, you have 40 questions and you have 30 minutes. The recordings will take 30 minutes. So you have 30 minutes to answer 40 questions and recordings will go at the same time, and then you will be given 10 minutes to transfer, I meant to say, to transfer your answers from the question booklet to the answer sheet. And Einar, thank you very much for another good question. Yes, you should be prepared to hear American accent, European accents, British, of course, or foreign accents. That's why I think listening to a wide range of materials, authentic but still wide range of accents and materials, is a very good idea. I know. I know, Gulia, it's the last part, isn't it? Part 4. Remember? Um, point taken, Moisey. So I was saying to Anya, the recordings do get harder as you progress through the test, meaning part 1 is the easiest, part 2 is harder than part 1, part 3 is harder than part 2, and part 4 is the hardest. And let's move on, ladies and gentlemen, shall we? Again, another slide on the frequently asked questions. If you have more, as you know, I'm more than happy to answer, but let me go through with these first. How can candidates improve their speaking skills? Well, it's extremely important to practice, as I've just said, practice listening to a wide range of authentic resources. So that might include, well, not only TV series and smiley here, but also podcasts, educational videos, lectures, and documentaries. As Aino said, research works. I mean, part 4 will not be about an everyday dialogue, an everyday topic. It will be about an academic issue, about research, about scientific findings, and so on. So, TV series will not help you there. That's why I suggest, that's why I said not only TV series, but also, and then I said podcasts, educational videos, and so on. Well, make sure you aim for different materials with different accents. We mentioned that. Yes, Julia, all parts will be played once only. And so different materials with different accents. Having said that, there is no substitute for good practice. Whatever you listen to, it is good practice. I mean, if you have a smartphone or tablet, you may also download many free British Council applications. Well, there is one called Audio and Video. I will check my mobile phone in a bit, which is very, very good. I think that's really useful. And learn English. I mean, if you type British Council on your application stores, you will see many free applications and see which one works for you. See what you I mean which one is more useful for you. Plus, you may also find lots of useful stuff on learnenglish.britishcouncil.org and takeielts.britishcouncil.org. Please do not forget to have a look at those. And how will candidates hear the recordings? All recordings will be heard by all candidates at the same time. Tatiana, I think that's cool. You know, that's really good. And 3 is the third one. Are spelling and capitalization important in the IELTS listening test? Yes, yes, yes. Be very careful with your with your spelling. And I think we can move on to. Oh wait, have I answered all your questions? Let me go back before we move on to the reading. So Sibal and Aino and Julia, one new message. Yes, says Olena. Lovely. Okay, guys. Valeria is happy, and then why not reading? We will again start with an overview of the reading test, ladies and gentlemen. Well, the reading test includes 40 questions, just like, thank you very much, Anna. The reading test will include 40 questions, as I just said, just like the listening test. However, a big, bold however, you will not be given any transfer time at the end of the reading test. So you need to transfer your answers as you go through the test. Be very, very careful. I don't want you to have a terrible shock at the end of the test. So always 40 questions, always 3 articles, and always 1 hour, 60 minutes to answer these 40 questions. Unlike the listening test, I will repeat this again. Unlike the listening test, you will not be given extra time to transfer your answers. So you have to transfer your answers as you answer the questions. And your answers must be written in pencil. Again, just like the listening test, use pencil only while you're transferring your answers. And now, more details about the reading texts. All right, what do we have here? Let me have a quick look at the slide. Right. Okay. Now, guys, I give you some time to look at the items, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 items. And as you have a look at why is the pencil so important? Well, to avoid chaos, we suggest you use a pencil. Believe me, it's better, darling. And Milos, that's a very long question. We are focusing on IELTS only on this presentation. Well, all these exam parts will be at the same day. No worries, guys. Fire these questions away. I mean, I'm happy to answer, but that's a very different thing. That's why. Now, Gulnaz, let me read that. I haven't. Wait, can we write in question booklet first? Check. Oh, will you have enough time, Gulnaz? The thing is, when I'm giving these trainings at universities, at very reputable colleges all around the world, I get this question too, Gulnaz, and you know what I say? Well, some students say, some candidates, some even teachers, many teachers take IELTS too, and they say, some of them say they transfer their answers after each section, like in after text 1, they transfer their answers, and then after section 2 and 3. Some of them say, no, that's such a waste of time, and they'd rather transfer the answers as they progress through the test. And after so many trainings, after having met so many candidates, I think it's better that you practice it at home and come up or decide which one is best for you. All right? I think it is safer to transfer after each question, but some people have said no, it kind of distracts them, and they rather do it after each section, and I totally respect it, but try and see whether it works or not. That's all I'm saying. And now many questions have come, so let me go. You're very welcome, Gulnaz. Sure. Reading out loud. Oh no, you will be in the same room with other candidates, Moisi. So it's better, it's better not to read aloud. You won't be very popular in the exam room, I would say. Well, Irina, that requires a lot of practice. Let's talk about some tips later in the reading section. You're right. No, Ivana, it doesn't sound like a ridiculous question at all. I'm here to answer all of your questions, and you should bring your pen and pencil. Why did I say pen? I will explain later. I suggest you bring a pen, pencil, eraser, and your ID. That's all. We will come back to that later, though, Ivana. Okay. Anna, very good question. Again, this is your second cool question. Thank you very much for your contribution to the webinar. Now, the difficulty of the texts may change, but remember what I said in the listening test? The parts will get more and more difficult as you progress, so they are in a difficulty order. But in the reading section, I cannot tell you that. I mean, I cannot say text 1 is the easiest and text 3 is the hardest, or vice versa. I cannot tell you that. One of the texts may be more difficult than the others, but you don't know which. So, the next question normally is, so we cannot, if say text 3 is the hardest, shall we start from that? So you can't do that. I suggest you do the text in order. Absolutely, Moisi. Cambridge official IELTS books and official British Council IELTS materials are the best. So keep on using them. Yeah, definitely. Plus, I was going to mention that later, but I don't mind saying it right now. When you book your exam through the British Council, you will have access to our online materials as well. Road to IELTS, you might benefit greatly from those materials too. Oh, very good question. Galaxy A5. What an amazing name. No. In the listening section, the questions are in order. However, in the reading section, the questions are not in order. Now, ACES Z01OD. If I'm not wrong, I don't have my contact lenses today, so I might have said wrongly. But anyway, so well, the exam is always in this order: listening, reading, writing. However, and speaking. However, you might have the speaking test on another day. This will be clarified and you will be informed. But listening, reading, writing order never changes. I think I tried to say it as clearly and as slowly as possible to make sure everyone gets that correctly. So listening, reading, writing order never changes. Depending on the our IELTS, our Cambridge IELTS online test use, absolutely, yeah, they're definitely useful. How many readings are in one section? Well, Zarina, in the reading test, there are 3 texts. Is that the answer to your question? Well, I think it is. Right, what else do I have? What else? Pencil may be needed. Guys, I'm just going through the questions, by the way. That's why I paused. So Anna's question has been answered. Well, Husnia, we talked about the listening section earlier and many times, but I will answer that for the last time. The recordings of the listening section will take 30 minutes and then plus 10 minutes for 10 minutes transfer time. And then the reading test will take 1 hour, including the transfer time. I mean, in other words, there is no extra transfer time. You have 1 hour to answer the questions and transfer your answers. Well, oh wow, wow, wow! How could I ever miss this question? Do you recommend? Read the full text and then then answer the questions, or vice versa? Vice versa. Right. I'm going to come to this wonderful question very shortly. No, Anna. All questions are equal. Aisulu, there will always be a clock in the exam room, either an actual one or a digital one. So you may follow your time. Don't worry. And. Well, Allah's, I can't go, into those details because we have very limited amount of time, I'm afraid. Well, Demuko, that is, unfortunately, you cannot leave the test room. All right, now okay. I think you've had enough time to look at the slide, right? I'm going to talk about this. Look at the first item. It says topics are interesting, appropriate, and accessible. Oops, let me move that. Accessible for non-experts. All right. I know it may sound a bit, well, light, but I think this is totally correct. Now, I'm going to give you an example. This is from Cambridge IELTS Past Papers, Book 8. I think most probably it is Test 1, Reading Text 1. You can check this later. It is called A Chronicle of Timekeeping. And guys, like many other IELTS reading texts, I find this, I've read and I find this text very interesting. This text in particular talks about how people measured time throughout history, how the way they measured time changed after the invention of artificial light and after the invention of artificial light and after the advent of the mechanical clock. I'm sure, okay, let me say this. I'm sure most of you guys here tonight will be interested in reading such an article in your native language. How people measure time throughout history. Am I right? Would you read an article like this? How people measured time, what methods they used, and what sort of mistakes they made? Yeah. So, these texts are, I know they might be difficult for you, but these texts are almost always about interesting topics. There was another one that I really enjoyed. It was about how bats evolved through time, about their sight and so on. These are all very. I would almost read anything. Oh, great! If you read newspapers, magazines, journals, you won't have any problems in IELTS reading text. Seriously. And let's see. Have I covered everything on the slide? We already talked about the timing, 3 texts. Yeah, I think this slide is totally covered. We can move on to the next one. And now, I will be talking about this. Do we have to read the whole thing or not? That sort of questions. Now, guys, you will find the answers to these questions on this slide. Now, let's get through the reading tips. I made a quick list. Now, before you take the test, I believe you need to familiarize yourself with different task types. You should also practice reading skills. I'm talking about 2 skills in particular, skimming and scanning. Now, since you've got 20 minutes per text, remember 3 texts, 1 hour. So let's do the maths. You have got 20 minutes per text, and you do not have enough time to read the text intensively, thoroughly. So your skimming and scanning skills will help you get through the test. Now, what does skimming mean and what does scanning mean? Let's talk about this. All right. Skimming means looking over an article or a paragraph to identify the key themes or general ideas. This includes paying attention to, say, titles, subtitles if there are any, keywords, and topic sentences. Now this is my suggestion, I suggest you read the title first, then the subtitles if there are any, then the first and the last sentence of each paragraph. And make notes. You are free to make notes. Make notes around the article as you do this. When I do this skimming in classrooms, I usually time my students, and skimming does not take more than 2 minutes. Let me see. Right. I need to answer to, yeah. Right. So, yes, I've just written an answer to my colleague. And then I was saying, you don't have, you don't have enough time to read the text carefully, intensively, thoroughly, not carefully, sorry. And then, as I said, you're reading the titles, subtitles, and then read the first and the last sentence of each paragraph. You're allowed to take notes if you wish. Then you're going to the questions, and you need to read the questions carefully. Be clear about what you're looking for. There's a scanning, right? Now the scanning starts here. You need to go back and forth trying to find the correct answers to your questions. Like the listening test, I'm moving on to another item. Like the listening test, there are no penalties for wrong answers, so do attempt all the questions again. Next slide. All right, now, how can candidates improve their reading skills? Well, guys, I wish I had a magic wand, or I wish I could give you some shortcuts. I can't. However, I know how you can improve your reading skills. You may not like my answer, but I have to say this. Read as much as you can. Read newspapers, magazines, journals. The more variety, the better, of course. I advise my students to read 2 articles on environmental issues, 2 articles on technology, and 2 articles of their own choice every week. If you read 6 to 8 articles every week, you will see how much you improve in such short time. And number 2, can candidates use colored pens or pencils in the IELTS reading test? No. The answer is no. Then number 3, how can candidates skim and scan efficiently? I think I have fully covered this. Have I, guys? Are you confident about this now? Let me see some answers at least. Great. Okay, so skimming, scanning, we covered as much as we can. Perfect. And the last one, writing. Now, ladies and gentlemen, do you remember the very beginning of the webinar? We said the listening and the speaking section are the same, regardless of whether you are taking the academic or the general training module. The reading and the writing sections will differ, however. The reading texts will be different, but timing will be the same. Number of questions will be the same. That's why, Rista, just answering that question. The number of questions will be the same. The timing will be the same. The text's difficulty will be different, however. Kraken. Writing will start in a moment, Ivana. Coming straight away. The difficulty of the texts differ, obviously. In the academic module, we expect our candidates to be able to understand text at academic level, because they are taking this exam to further their studies at undergraduate and postgraduate levels. For the general training, however, the texts will be less difficult. I think I can say this with total confidence. Now, the writing section, now there is more to say, to compare. Let's get started. The writing test is divided. Now, regardless of whether you're taking the academic or the general training, I think we can move on to the next slide, my dear colleagues. The writing test will be divided into 2 parts, and you're expected to answer both of these questions in 1 hour. Task 1 differs depending on the module you're taking. So let me start with the academic one. In the academic module, you need to analyze a diagram. Applicants should identify 2 to 3 significant points in each diagram and describe what they see. You may need to make comparison between data too, and you need to be as analytical as possible. You need to be as formal as possible. We do not need your personal information, personal ideas here. Be as numerical as possible. Be as analytical as possible. Describe what you see. Avoid giving your personal ideas. Avoid assumptions and forecasts, predictions, and so on. Right. And in general training, however, there is a letter writing of at least 150 words. Oh, by the way, the same word count applies to the academic question as well. So let me say this. Let me rephrase this. Let me say it in a better way. You need to write at least 150 words in task 1. Dear academic and general training test takers. 150 words at least. And do we count the words? Yes, we do. Yes, we do. And do you advise? Oh, thank you very much. I do advise that, Samir. I think Max, oh, very good question, Ivana, coming straight away. So I advise you should spend a minute and a half max, well, maybe 2. I don't know how you can perform, how fast you write, but you shouldn't spend too much time on it. But yes, a very short plan will help you a great deal. Now, okay, so I answered Samir's question. Now, Ivana. Well, that's a very, very good question. We always always tell the students the minimum word count because we believe these tasks. I mean, minimum 150 words for task 1 and minimum 250 words for task 2. We believe that these tasks can be achieved, can be written with numbers around that. But minimum is important because you may lose points if you write less. And, well, there is no maximum number of words, but guys, you have a limited time. You cannot exceed 1 hour. We recommend you spare 20 minutes for task 1 and 40 minutes for task 2. Nobody will come and say, hello, time for task 1 is over, now time for task 2. We won't say this. You will be managing your own time. And that's why we have a recommended time for you. 20 minutes for task 1 and 40 minutes for task 2. And the number of words you can write in 20 minutes is limited. And the same thing applies to task 2. The number of words you can write in 40 minutes is also limited. And the more you write doesn't necessarily mean the better. Actually, you might be repeating yourself. This is almost always the case. Do not repeat yourself. Make a clear point, support your point with an example, of course, in task 2, and that's enough. Well, you cannot carry your phone. Your phones, your super smartphones, your super smart gadgets are not coming into the exam room, guys. I was going to tell you that at the end of the presentation, but since the question is here, I wanted to answer that. Right, and Maya, I might give you an example. Yes, articles, and, the, one, two, numbers, they're all counted as words. They are words. So, Demika, I will come to that. Ivana's question was very good. I answered that because it was related to this very slide. Can we correct, Gulnaz? I will come to that later. Articles are counted, Tamar. Maya, you will not get a certificate at the end of the webinar. Everyone's here because they want to learn more about the IELTS and they want to ask questions to the British Council because this is not a certified training. This is just to inform you, to help you with your exam. Absolutely, Shrabel. You lose points for spelling and for wrong capitalization and punctuation. Bad news. Oh, Maya's question was answered, sorry. Right. Do I use handwriting? Oh, on print. I didn't understand that question. All right. Okay. So I might have spent too much time on reading the questions, but anyway, guys. All right. Let me go back to the presentation. So task one, I think we answered. Oh, right. So I talked about the academic one and now the general training one, of course. In general training, there is a letter writing of at least 150 words. The same word count applies to academic module task one. I said that. Now, in task one, academic exam the general exam takers are expected to explain their reason why they're writing this letter and address to all parts of the question, and the tone of the letter, whether it should be formal, informal, friendly, will be determined and will be given to you. So you just need to read the question very carefully and follow the question and answer all parts of the question, address to all parts of the question. That's the key. Now, for both academic and general training task 2, candidates are expected to write at least 250 words. Here's a tip. Task 2 contributes twice as much as task 1 to the overall writing score. So if you're targeting high scores, you need to do very well in task 2. To master task 1 and task 2, make sure you cover the exam question. You understand and answer fully. Make sure you address to all parts of the question. And in task 2, you should develop your ideas and support them with examples. Now, in the next slide, was it the assessment? Perfect, because that's what I wanted to talk about. Guys, how do we assess your writing? Here are the 4 criteria: task achievement or task response, cohesion and coherence, vocabulary, grammar range and accuracy. Well, item 1, 3, and 4 are pretty straightforward, I suppose, but I want to say a few words about cohesion and coherence. Now, the second item on the slide. Now, cohesion and coherence means that your essay is logically organized and has a clear structure with an introduction, at least 2 body paragraphs, and a conclusion. Your essay should be divided into paragraphs, with each paragraph having a clear central idea and at least 1 example. So with this, I answered some of you guys' questions. 1 example in each body paragraph, and each body paragraph should have a separate central idea. The 2 body paragraphs cannot be talking about the very same thing. They might be both agree paragraphs, they might be both disagree paragraphs, but the central ideas should be different. All right? Now, that I will answer that question. Look at the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Look at the 7th item on the list, Tomoko. Write legibly. And the next one, cross out or erase clearly. Now, of course, in order to to be able to grade your writing, number 1 rule, number 1 fact, we should be able to read it. You don't have to erase everything. If you want to cross out, and if you don't want to lose time on erasing, if you want to cross out and move on, that's perfectly fine. But remember, you need to be writing in paragraphs. The paragraphs should be clearly separated so we understand your points clearly. And as I've just said, we need to be able to read what you write so we can grade it. I mean, bad handwriting. Well, I have seen millions of different examples. Uh, as long as I can read it, as long as it's okay. I mean, we don't expect you to write perfectly well, but legibly. We expect you to write legibly so we can correct it. Well, it's very hard to talk about this. How to expand a theme without getting rid of the main. Dragana. You're not getting rid of the main topic, by the way. Oh, send me a little statement on my email. Oh, I don't know. I don't understand. Is it important to ask questions in the letter? Well, if if you're asked to ask something to the recipient, then you should. All right. And the next slide, please. All right. Now, so here is a sample task 2 for you guys. Please take a moment to read the topic. Now, Tamara, let me read that again. Plagiarizing. Well, since you have no internet access in the exam room, and since you cannot memorize all the model letters and essays that are available online, nobody will accuse you of plagiarizing. Don't worry. But if you use some phrases, some collocations incorrectly in your essay, I mean, if you memorize these and if you use them inappropriately, that might be a problem. But if you use them very well, appropriately, then I don't see any problems. Well, Sultanat, I cannot help you with that, I'm afraid. Right. Okay. Right. Can I ask something to paraphrase? Good. Now, Julia, if you are an academic test taker and I want to tell you something about task 1 and task 2. Now, in task 1, you need to paraphrase the question in your introduction, and you cannot copy paste. If you copy paste the question, you will lose points. And the same thing for task 2. You cannot copy paste the question, guys. You should be able to paraphrase the question in order to increase your score. No, of course it's not known. You will see it on the exam day. You can use citations for sure. And then, so let me go back to the slide. For this question, you don't look at this. I mean, no, sorry, the previous one, please. For this question, countries are becoming more and more similar because people are able to buy the same products everywhere in the world. Do you think is it a positive or negative development? Now, to answer this question, you don't need to have personal first-hand experience. I mean, if you have read, if you have heard something, you may refer to those. That's perfectly fine. As long as you mention relevant things, you will be safe. You will be okay. Remember, you need to write an introduction, 2 body paragraphs at least, and a conclusion. That's the key. Ivana, absolutely fine. You can, as long as you express yourself accurately, appropriately, in your essay, as long as the word your choice of words, the grammar you use are cool, you will be fine. You can argue whatever you like. And next slide, please. Now here, how can candidates improve their writing? Well, ladies and gentlemen, read model answers. Many model answers can be found in Road to IELTS, plus official IELTS materials by the British Council. See and analyze those first, and then start producing your own work. Now, we have already described a successful task 1 and task 2 essay, haven't we? And that's why I want to move on to the last question. Does spelling count in the IELTS writing test? Yes. Actually, something hasn't been asked by you guys. So I would like to add one more question here. Do you need a title for your essays? Do you? Let me get the answers. Good, good. Oh, Ivana, you're wrong. No, 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 no. Absolutely, guys, you don't need a title. So do not spend time trying to find a creative title for your essays. Just no titles necessary for both. And now, next slide, please. So, do's and don'ts. Now, ladies and gentlemen, the very first thing I would like to suggest, check the details of your exam center and exam date when you book your exam. This is the very first one. And of course, arrive in good time. Remember, I think I've said to you, I answered a question like this. Your ID is very important. So your ID is definitely coming with you, and a pen, a pencil, and an eraser might also come with you to the exam room. However, your smartphones and gadgets are staying at home. Follow the instructions very, very carefully. IELTS is not only a test of English, but we do test your understanding of English instructions as well. So following the instructions are vitally important. And last but not least, the next slide is about IELTS preparation materials. Right. We know that preparation materials are very important to you. And that's why I wanted to put this, put these together to make sure everyone gets this. Now, once you have registered your IELTS exam with the British Council, you will have access to 30 hours of free training through Road to IELTS. Now, that's one thing. And then we have the IELTS official materials or Cambridge official materials. Wonderful. Oh, the internet arena. Absolutely. Then you have, I'm sure most of you own a smartphone. So when you go to your app stores, application stores, go for British Council IELTS. IELTS Word Power is the name of the application, and this one is specifically dedicated to IELTS. However, you can also find different applications. Very useful. I think I did mention one of those, audio and video, and there's another one called Great Videos. Oh, please use them. I'm sure you will benefit from those greatly. And let me see. Well, Ivana, yes, there will be. Well, Salome, I don't know you at all, and I don't know your learning style, so you can't expect me to answer that question, darling. That would be just wrong. All right. And now, are there any list of essay titles for? Well, Tamar, you can use our materials. There are general training essay rubrics, essay topics in Road to IELTS. Please see those, and you will see some. Let me see. Let me see. Well, now, Tigran, I understand you very well. This is a typical, I mean, this is a typical concern, and I do understand it. I mean, I can empathize with you easily. Um, do you remember the slide, the sample question for task 2? Um, it was, I mean, if you don't have first-hand experience, first-hand experience or knowledge, you can always refer to things you have read, things you have heard. But remember, things you have read. So you should read a lot. So you can refer to an article you read. You can refer to a documentary you watched. Then that's fine. And well, actually, if you have done so, it will be much easier to produce an idea and form an opinion, right? Well, Valeria, that's a very specific question, and depending on the procedure, you may not. And remember, the validity time is for 2 years, so that is a very hard question, darling. No, I wish I could have helped you more, but uh, I've just answered that question. 2 years. And Grigor, I'm glad you enjoyed it. Any more questions, ladies and gentlemen? Well, good luck to all of you. Oh, wow. So, so you guys are quite happy, as I see. You're you're all very welcome. And I will come back to that question. Guys, I wish you the best of luck in your IELTS exam. And if you have further questions, please do not hesitate to contact us and have a very good evening. And let me see. Now, Anna, again, that's a very specific question. And since I'm a teacher, I wouldn't know things about. I would have no idea about visa things. You know, to cut a long story short. No, you cannot ask anyone to paraphrase or to explain the topic, Julia. Well, by the way, since it's a new program, my dear colleagues, will participants be able to get a copy of this presentation tomorrow? Sibel, I'm asking the very same question. Oh, yes. The answer is yes, guys. I've just received a message. This presentation will be sent to you tomorrow. So you might see the questions tomorrow then. Oh, that's good news. Very good news. Lovely. So I wish you a very good evening, everyone. Thanks for your time. And it was great to be here with you tonight. Bye bye.